Well, hello again, and thank you again for joining us today. Please continue to enjoy your lunch while we do our presentations here. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, my name is Kelly Murphy. I'm the Director of Sales for Hawk Hospitality, which owns a couple local hotels, the new Courtyard, Iowa City, University Heights, as well as the Spring Hill Suites in Coralville. 2023 was a remarkable and in so many ways a historic year for our community. Area hotels not only began to fully recover from the pandemic, but also saw nearly the highest ever demand, occupancy, and hotel-motel tax revenues in the history of our community. And while Think Iowa City and the Iowa City Area Sports Commission won't take full credit for those achievements, speaking as a longtime hotelier, I can assure you their hard work played a major role. I'm sure Josh will do a great job highlighting some of the signature moments a little later in the program, but on behalf of him and the rest of the team, I'd like to recognize a few of our most important partners. I believe we have some representatives here today from the Greater Iowa City Area, Inc., the Iowa City Downtown District, South of 6th District, and our Special Events and Communications Departments at each of the cities and county. Thank you all for your great work that you do to advance this community forward. Having represented hotels in many different markets, I can assure you, we are the envy of many communities for many of these reasons. Not just in this region, but across the state. And it's because of the great work that all of you do. I know how much Think Iowa City and the Sports Commission teams value these partnerships it shares with each of your organizations. Would those of you that are here today with any of those organizations please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you again for your support. Agenda-wise, we're going to do things a little unconventional today. Why, do you ask? Because we're very fortunate to be joined by a very special guest and keynote speaker, but she has some important things to do for this thing going on tomorrow night when Iowa beats up the Wolverines. And she needs to get to practice here after speaking with us here today. Raina Harmon is in her 7th year as an assistant coach for the Iowa women's basketball team. Raina primarily works with the perimeter players, and I'm pretty sure we all know perhaps of one certain guard on that team. She's not too shabby. Who's that? I can't remember her name. To date, Raina has helped Iowa to a 173-50 record, and of course that magical national championship run last season. She was instrumental in Iowa's Big Ten tournament championships in 2019, 2022, and 2023, and helped take Iowa to the NCAA tournament in 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023. She also coached Kathleen Doyle to become a consensus All-American and Big Ten Player of the Year in 2020. Beyond basketball, Raina serves as one of 15 leaders on the Big Ten Conference's LGBTQ+ working group. And prior to her time with our Hawkeyes, Raina spent 5 seasons with her alma mater at Central Michigan University. Please join me in welcoming Raina Harmon, Iowa women's basketball assistant coach.
Good morning. We can do better than that. I'm a coach, for Christ's sakes. Good morning. Thank you. I want to give a quick thank you to Josh, Monica, and Think Iowa City for allowing me to be here to share some words with you guys today. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Black History Month. Happy Iowa Women's Basketball Game Day Eve. I remember when I first began traveling back home after moving to Iowa, and people would say to me, "You moved to Iowa. Why?" I'll share that with you in a few minutes, but it'll make much more sense if I start at the beginning. Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit was probably 98% black when I was coming up in the 80s. I started playing basketball with my cousins around the age of 9. I wasn't very good at it. I had older male cousins. It'd usually be 3 of them. They always needed a 4th person. So they say, come on, Raina, come to the alley, let's play. We'll pass you the ball, don't shoot, don't dribble, pass it back. Fine. But I kind of took a liking to basketball. But as an only child, growing up with a single mom, my mom decided to put me in Police Athletic League, which was a nonprofit that specialized in providing youth sports throughout the city of Detroit. So not only was I learning to play basketball, but I was also a part of the cheer program for 10 years. My mom posts pictures of these like every year, and it is mortifying. I played softball, I played tennis. I was a part of the ski program. But there was something about the sport of basketball that I just found a liking to. Maybe it was because I started to see myself getting better than my older male cousins. So I would say around the age of 12, after becoming the, when you catch it, pass it back, I became the, give it to her, let her shoot it. So that started me on my way in the sport of basketball. I went to high school at a pretty good powerhouse in the state of Michigan, Martin Luther King High School, downtown Detroit. We were the number one ranked high school team for many years, and I was not the best player by any means. In fact, there were 7 of us that graduated in my class. 5 of us went on to earn D1 scholarships. I made the most of my time while I was in high school. Tore my ACL, came back from that. To this day, I'm convinced that I swindled my way into a college basketball scholarship. Again, I was not a very good player by any means compared to the people that were on my team. But I can remember vividly, there was a game, we were blowing a team out, and there were a bunch of coaches there to see some of my other teammates, and I had like 20 and 12. And after that, my phone began to ring. Central Michigan was one of the schools that was on the line, along with a few HBCUs. When I was in high school, my mom was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And again, being an only child, I knew that I wasn't gonna go too far away from home. So I visited Central Michigan, they gave me an offer, and I took it. So I trekked up 2 hours north to Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and I was in for a culture shock. So they roomed me with 2 soccer players and a softball player. None of them looked like me. And so we were trying to figure each other out, where we were from. One was from California, one from Illinois, and one from Ohio, me being from Detroit. We were trying to figure out, like, why when we wash our hair, do you guys rely on gravity and your hair goes that way and mine defies gravity and it goes that way, right? Why do you listen to Dave Matthews Band and I'm listening to Jay-Z? And so we're just trying to figure out these things, and it was okay for the time being. And I said, well, I better, start using whatever shampoo they're using, and I'm gonna start listening to the Dave Matthews Band as well. But I find myself, when I would go back home in the summertime, doing this dance. So I'm at school and I'm listening to Dave Matthews Band, John Mayer, Chumbawamba tub thumping. Don't ask me why that just came to my mind. But when I would go back home, I would even wear Aeropostale and Abercrombie at school, but I'd go back home and I'd find myself in Timberlands and in Nikes and listening to Jay-Z and the Hot Boys. And so there was this thing, and I didn't know a word for it then, but now we call it code switching. And I found that I couldn't necessarily be myself in these 2 spaces. They were 2 complete different worlds. My friends in Detroit didn't understand my friends in Mount Pleasant. My friends in Mount Pleasant didn't understand me being from Detroit. And then I stumbled upon the Black Student Union, I would say my junior year of college. And it was then where I realized that it's okay to be in this space and be exactly true to who I am. And the truth is, I loved all of it. And I didn't have to sacrifice one side of myself to please another. And that was really eye-opening for me. I majored in sports studies, I minored in marketing, but honestly, I had no idea what I wanted to do once I graduated. Again, I was not good enough. We weren't any good at CMU. I'm just gonna be frank about it. I knew I wasn't good enough to go play in the WNBA, and so I knew that I wanted to stay in sports, so I'd have to figure out my way. I didn't know that college coaching was an option for me, although I had 4 coaches, because I never saw anyone that looked like me. I say representation matters all the time. Shortly after I graduated, my head coach said, hey, I know a guy in Green Bay. He's looking for somebody to do some work in sports. Are you willing? And so for me, I had always been the pride and joy of my family. And so it's like, well, I don't want them to ask too many questions. I don't want to let them know that I really have no idea what it is I want to do, so let me just get the heck out of here. So I took a job in Green Bay, and it was not at all what I expected. The job wasn't what I expected. What they wanted me to do just didn't sit right with me. Every time I would try to go out and meet friends and go to the mall, everybody would ask me 2 questions. Are you the daughter or the wife of a Green Bay Packer? I was neither. After 3 months, I decided it was time for me to pack it up, face the news, and head back home. My mom and my stepdad said, well, you can move back home, but you're gonna find a job. So I took a job as a substitute teacher at a charter school. I was teaching gym and health, which was really, really fun. But I found that all the troubled kids kept getting sent to my office when it was time for them to be in math, history, and reading. And I'm like, why are these kids keep being sent to my class? I have my own classes to teach. And it was like, well, Raina, these kids, they like you. They listen to you. You have influence over them, and they do their best when they're in your class. So I would be in there having kids doing their math work and their history work while trying to play dodgeball over kids with the kids that had 6-hour gym. I was asked if I would coach the 8th grade boys basketball team of this school, because a lot of these boys were the troubled kids in the school. Now, I had never drew up a play in my life except for in that alley when I was 12 years old. But I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. It was then that I learned a valuable lesson. Kids don't care what you know until they know you care. That's people. People don't care what you know until they know you care. We won the 8th grade championship. I was then approached by my former AAU coach, and he said, hey, I hear you're back in town, you're coaching, you just coached this 8th grade boys team to a championship. How would you like to come back and give back to the program that gave so much to you when you were a little one? And I said, yeah, I like the hang of this. Coaching, I think I found something here. So he said, how about you start with the 7th grade girls? I said, all right, let's do it. And so I coached that team from the 7th grade all the way until they graduated high school. And something dawned on me as it was happening. I started building great relationships with these young girls. Whenever they were having issues with their mom and dad at home, I would be the one that they would call. Whenever they wanted to talk about their relationships that were failing in school, I would be the one that they would call. You know, as young girls, as they were navigating puberty, I would be the one that they would call. At the same time, I started having coaches call my phone that were recruiting them from several colleges around the country. And I realized that there were a lot of women that looked like me making those phone calls. It then dawned on me, I think I want to be a college coach. So as these coaches were calling me to recruit the players that I had, I would tell anybody that would listen, I think I want to be a college coach. I'm getting my master's right now from Wayne State. This is in Michigan. If you guys would just let me know what I need to do to get on someone's staff, I'll have my grad degree, so I can't be a grad assistant, but I'll get in and do whatever. Just let me know. And I was intentional about telling any coach that called my phone, hey, this is something that I really, really want to do. They say it's not who you know, but who knows you. One day out of the blue, I received a phone call from Kevin Borseth, head coach for the University of Michigan women's basketball program, and he invited me to interview for his director of basketball operations position. The next day after the interview, I was offered the job. Don't boo me, y'all, but I accepted the position. I enjoyed my 2 seasons at Michigan, but deep down, I knew that I really wanted to coach. So while at the Final Four in Denver in 2012, I ran into the head coach at CMU. This was a different coach. She wasn't my head coach while I was there. She had 2 open coaching positions on her staff, and I informed her that I would be interested in making the jump and that I wanted to interview for one of those positions, but I hadn't had a chance to talk to Coach Borseth yet, so please don't put that out there. Let me go back and talk to my coach and we'll see what we could do. The very next day, Coach Borseth called me and informed me that he was going to resign his position at the University of Michigan and he was going back to University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. He asked me if I wanted to go. I declined. I called Coach G and I told her that I would make a fantastic coach on her staff. She told me she was unsure if I could coach because I didn't have any experience at that level. I suggested she speak to the athletic administration as they were there when I was a player. And at the very least, they could speak to her about my character. They say it's not who you know, but who knows you. I interviewed. The next day, I was offered the job. I coached at CMU for 5 seasons. We won a few championships and had a player get drafted to the WNBA, and for a mid-major program, that was huge. But I knew that Coach Guevara, the head coach at CMU, she wasn't going to be around for much longer. She was headed into retirement, and I wanted to ensure that my son wasn't going to be bouncing around from high school to high school. So I told her, hey, I love the Midwest. I'd like to make a jump here. I love the Big Ten. I'd like to get back as a coach. If you know of any programs that aligns with my values, that you think I can thrive in their program, just let me know, and I'll do the rest. A month later, I got a phone call from Lisa Bluter. Now, I got to be completely honest, y'all. When Bluter called, I was super thrilled that a coach from the Big Ten was calling me. But the first thing I told my wife, Sharita, was, guess who called today? Iowa. Ain't nobody going to Iowa. As a Detroit native, Iowa was the furthest thing from my mind. But I said, she's legendary, so at the very least, I'm going to take that interview. I boarded the plane thinking, well, this will be a good interviewing experience. But by the time I left to head home, I was thinking, if Lisa Bluter offers me this job, I am going to take it. There are a few things that caught my attention right away after landing in Iowa City. The first thing was how close the staff was. Lisa, Jan, Jenny, they were more than colleagues. They were best friends, and that really resonated with me. When they took me downtown to eat, I could see how the community really supported their program. Not only were fans asking about the upcoming season, but they were also asking about their family members. How is Jack doing in school? How's Dave doing, writing his new book? I also had the opportunity to speak with Tanaya Davis and Alexis Civilian. I asked them what their experience had been like as a Black woman from Michigan living and playing in Iowa City, and they loved it. My last thought was, if Iowa is good enough for Vivian Stringer, it's definitely good enough for me. When I got back to CMU, I had the luxury of talking with the then head coach of the men's basketball program, Keno Davis, and his assistant, Kevin Gamble, both with Iowa ties. I told them I had an interview at Iowa, and I had been offered a job. And before I can say the next thing, they were both, take it. That pretty much sealed the deal for me. Coach Bluter offered me the job. But before taking it, I had to make sure that my family approved, my wife and my son. We hopped in the car, and we made the 7-hour drive. We wondered if we, a same-sex couple, could thrive while raising a young Black boy in Iowa City. And after being here for 7 years, the answer is a resounding yes. Seven years ago, I could have never imagined living the life that I'm living at this very moment. Since coming to Iowa, I've been able to create a diverse friend group. I've been able to watch my wife flourish in her role with Iowa City Schools. My son thrived during his time at Iowa City Liberty, and he's now a sophomore playing football at Iowa Central. I've become an entrepreneur. Unified Ballers is the name of the company, shameless plug. I've worked with Tracy Sargent and completed his BIPOC Business Accelerator course. I've been on the Summer of the Arts board. I've emceed the Soul and Blues Fest. I've had my company and fashion shows that model alongside my friends at Vice Iowa City. I've spent late nights at The View and early mornings at the farmer's market. I've made friends with Angie Jordan, who tirelessly works for the South District. And I am, or I was, best friends with Tom Seelig. I've chatted hoops and community with Mayor Foster. And I've spent holiday outings with Mayor Teague. I've been able to support and be supported by this community. Here in Iowa City, I've coached future doctors, future dentists, current coaches, 2 young women that'll be playing in this year's Olympics. Shout out to Megan Gustafson and Tommy Taiwo. I've been blessed to coach 2 National Players of the Year, to coach multiple WNBA draft picks, to play in the Final Four, to make a national championship appearance. I'm very fortunate to coach the future scoring record holder, y'all, and year 7 isn't even close to finish. I have to be honest though, I don't necessarily coach for the X's and O's. The X's and the O's are fun, but that's not what wakes me up in the morning, although they do keep me up at night. But the relations that I've built with the players that I've coached, that's my why. To have the opportunity to mentor the next group of young women leaders that would do great things here in Iowa City and around the world, that's what motivates me to be my best every single day. I remember when I went back home, and friends would say to me, "You moved to Iowa City." Now my response is simple. Why not? Thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Who had on their Coach Harmon bingo card Chumbawamba? Good afternoon, I'm Mitch Gross. I'm the vice chairperson of the CVB board, Think Iowa City board. I'm also the principal at Iowa City West High School. There we go, shout out to Wes, thank you. Recovering former elected official, as I was 16 years on the Coralville City Council as Mayor Pro Tem. But right now, my most proud accomplishment is I'm the dad of a student manager of the Iowa women's basketball team. Thank you, Coach Harmon, for those words. The Iowa City Sports Commission is not the only outfit that's recognized the great work of Coach Harmon. Just yesterday, she was named by The Athletic as one of the top 20 assistant basketball coaches in the country to watch. Let's give her a hand for that. All right. We have a very, very special thing that we have to ask Coach Harmon to stay up here with us. We, as you know, in 2004, Herky on Parade was the brainchild of Josh and Dale Arns and the CVB, and it was an absolute smashing success. So much so that they brought it back 10 years later in 2014. Then they got the great idea, hey, let's do it one more time. So I want to show a quick video, real quick, that highlights this year's Herky on Parade. Now, one of the most special parts about Herky on Parade is that nobody, and I mean nobody, gets to see the top secret designs that will adorn Herky on almost every street corner throughout Johnson County come May 1st. But today, and Coach Harmon, that's why we wanted you to stay up here on the stage, in appreciation of your time with us today, it is only appropriate to publicly unveil a couple of Herkies. One of them is to my left, and it has been sponsored by the University of Iowa President's Office. And the other statue, Coach Harmon, the one that you'll unveil right here to my right, it's right from us, the Iowa City Sports Commission. And it's presented in appreciation to the entire program of Iowa women's basketball, coaches, staff, and players. This Herky is presented as a thank you for the positive impact you continue to bring to our community and to our state. So if you'll head over here to this Herky, I'll head over to this one. And maybe we can get a 1, 2, 3. We'll unveil 2 of the Herky designs.
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Number 22, of course. All right. I do want to just take a quick moment to thank Coach Harmon for her remarks. And as a former high school coach myself, it really resonated a lot of what she said about relationships. And that's why we all do what we do in this room, to bring sporting events and other things to this area. The Iowa City Sports Commission has played such a positive role in advancing sports, especially women's sports, over the past few decades, not only through advocacy, but through investment. We are turning this area into title town when it comes to high school athletics. As a former coach who was able to lead my team to 8 state titles, I can't begin to tell you the positive impact that a state championship experience can have on the life of a student athlete. Our goal here at the Sports Commission and at Think Iowa City is to ensure that every state participant has the experience of a lifetime when they come to town. And based on the evidence, we are crushing it. I want to close with this. The gratitude that we all feel towards the Iowa women's basketball program is unending. On a national level, they could not be better ambassadors for our university and for our state. And on a state level, they've instilled a sense of pride in what it means to be an Iowan that has not been felt in a while. On a local level, their time and commitment to our community goes well beyond basketball and could be not more appreciated. And on a personal level, I'm so thankful that my daughter Zola on a daily basis gets to be guided and inspired by the finest mentors out there. To be part, even just a tiny part of this amazing program, is such a blessing. With that being said, it is now my great honor to introduce the president of Think Iowa City, Josh Schamberger.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Raina, for sharing a bit of your inspiring and really continuing story here in our community. I'm not sure there's been a more anticipated Hawkeye game than what's on deck for tomorrow night. And although Caitlin will certainly and most deservedly be at the center of attention, there's no doubt in my mind that she would credit you as much as anyone for helping her achieve such historic success. So thank you again. And Raina, I know you've got to go to practice, so we don't have like a walk out song, and we didn't have a walk out that way song, so you should get out of here, and that way, don't worry about it, and we'll all see you tomorrow night. Go Hawks. And yes, Herky Arm Parade. Actually, just so you know, this one is not for sale. We will be presenting this one as a gift to someone after they finish their collegiate career, as a thank you to the community, so we don't violate any rules with compliance over there. So we'll hang on to it and keep it safe and sound. But you know, Herky Arm Parade, it's a heck of a lot of work to pull this off, but there's truly never been an event we have spearheaded that has brought more fun and goodwill to the community than Herky Arm Parade. As Mitch said, 100 statues will appear on just about every street corner at 10 a.m. on the morning of May 1st. The designs are once again incredible, artistic and fun, and it will be really great to see another generation of Hawkeye kids and families finding their way to get a selfie with each and every one of them throughout the summer. Dale Aarons and I are old enough to remember back in 2004 when people brought in their scrapbooks and showed us all their photos of them with the Herkies. And this summer, this event will no doubt dominate every single one of your social media feeds. As in 2014, at the conclusion of the parade, we will auction off all the available Herky statues and use the proceeds to fund another camp scholarship program for at-risk youth in our community. Arts camp, sports camp, nature camps, whatever inspires them the most. We're excited to be partnering with the Iowa City Community School District Foundation to set this up later this year. Thanks both to Kelly and Mitch for their comments today, as well as their continued leadership and service to our organization, and certainly to the rest of our board of directors who are recognized on the slide now shown on the screens. These community leaders dedicate their time and energy through representative and volunteer leadership to our organization. They are making a difference while also inspiring the entire team, our entire team, to continue building and growing. Please join me in a round of applause for their contributions. I also want to echo Kelly with my continued appreciation for our many local elected officials, our previously mentioned economic and community development peers, and our city managers. The successes we have shared and illuminate today are without a result the part of a larger team effort. Jeff, Kelly, Ryan, our partners at University Heights and Johnson County, their collective teams are as much to credit as anyone in our office. Our team at Think Iowa City and the Iowa City Area Sports Commission also want to recognize our terrific partners at the University of Iowa. While Pete Mathis and Dale Aarons are first to come to mind as our board representatives, there are dozens of exceptional University of Iowa leaders and partners that we interact with on a daily basis to move this community forward. I've never been more optimistic and quite honestly excited about the direction of the university under the leadership of President Wilson and our new athletic director, Beth Getz. The entire team over at UI Athletics and Rec Services continue to be some of the most important partners we have. The UI Freestyle Women's and Wrestling World Cup, the Olympic trials before that, Herkiarm Parade, Fry Fest, Big Ten and NCAA championship bids, aquatic events like last weekend's boys state swimming, state baseball, girls and boys state tennis, heck, the entire creation of the Iowa Women's Wrestling Program. I truly could go on and on. Their partnership and collaboration over the last several decades has continued to grow both town and gown. Dale and I receive a few calls each year from other schools and cities curious as to just how and why this partnership works so well. Just 2 weeks ago, I was asked for some advice when we were out in Arizona, Mitch and I, by the new CEO of Visit Ann Arbor. I told her I couldn't help and to go call Columbus. But in all seriousness, it's always a pretty simple answer. Structurally, we may be 4 to 5 silos, but we truly are one community. It starts with leadership. Pete and Dale play a big role in this on our board. Beth and her team understand it more than anyone. Now, for many of you here today, this might be your first luncheon. It might be new to your career, or maybe even the community itself. For a brief history on the Iowa City Coralville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, later named the Iowa City Coralville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, and today operating as Think Iowa City, we were created 45 years ago this summer by the Iowa City Area Chamber of Commerce. Like most CVBs around the country, we moved out of our parents' house and into our standalone nonprofit organization after successful passage of a local hotel-motel tax referendum. This happened in 1983 when Coralville and Iowa City both passed a 5% tax referendum on hotel night stays that later moved to 7% in the early 90s. It happened again in 2008 when the city of North Liberty opened their first hotel, and just a few years ago in University Heights with the opening of the Courtyard by Marriott. Our mission, simply put, is to advance the economic vitality and quality of life for residents and visitors as Iowa's premier destination. Destination is a key word, as fast forward 40 years and we're no longer calling ourselves CVBs, Convention and Visitors Bureau, but we're calling ourselves DMOs, Destination Marketing Organizations. We continue to be primarily funded by hotel-motel tax collections, with each municipality passing through a minimum of 25% into our organization. The balance of this revenue, the other 75%, is directed towards where the collecting jurisdiction deems the greatest need. But it's important to note, and very accurate, that our collective efforts to secure, maintain, and grow this visitor tax base, specifically hotel-motel tax revenue, is providing a significant tax benefit to all of us that call Johnson County home. As Kelly referenced in her earlier remarks, 2023 was a record-breaking year for our community. Visitors spent more than $560 million on goods and services, $60 million on local and state taxes, and for the first time ever, local hotel-motel tax revenue surpassed $6 million. For every $1 of hotel-motel tax that was invested last year into Think Iowa City and the Iowa City Area Sports Commission, staff efforts brought a return of $29.82 to our community. That is significant ROI. Not even Jake here at Green State Credit Union can get you that return. And this return is only calculated from what are known conferences and sports sales efforts. While we know our impact and our ROI is much greater than this, these are specific market segments. These are the specific market segments where we can really document a direct spending return. How do we do that, or how do we know that? We know this by calculating the hotel rates, food and beverage expenses, and other visitor expenditures by contracted conferences, meetings, special events, or tournaments that our team secured or played a big role in booking for the community. Some of these groups were first-time visitors to Johnson County, excuse me, while others are in the midst of multi-year contracts. Stacy, Luke, and their sales teams had a remarkable year in not only hosting numerous 2023 events, but securing several future conferences, meetings, and sporting events. Our team had fun cheering on Stacy last June when in the span of about 3 weeks, it seemed, she and our terrific hotel partners, particularly this one, secured a couple different Jehovah's Witnesses conferences that will bring about 2,500 hotel rooms to the market. A week later, she was in Florida, excuse me, in Florida locking up a more than 500 room night Hawkeye Harley Defenders Conference. And then a week later after that, again with our great partners here, she locked up the 2026 National Convention of the Catholic Daughters of America. This is a group that will bring just short of 4,000 room nights to the market for their convention. Throw in the National Taxidermy and Fish Carving Championships. It's true. An Amway Regional Convention, GammaCon, and you get another 2,600 future hotel room nights. Our sports team, on the other hand, amongst delivering red carpet championship experiences for our great friends at the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union, the Iowa High School Athletic Association, USA Wrestling, United World Wrestling, USA Gymnastics, Varsity Cheer and Dance, they boasted an equal number of future sporting events and tournaments. The sports and hobbies market segment has some of their own unique future opportunities as well. One in particular happens to be Luke's white whale. We joke with him about this. As you'll see in the upper right photo of that screen, Luke has it on his list that he's going to make Iowa City home to the National Beard and Mustache Championships, which is a real thing. And as I looked out there and I see Brandon Pratt, he's probably right in line for that championship. He has truly been grooming these guys, not literally, for years, and is dead set on parading these men and women out on a Hampshire or Englert stage near you. I think Iowa City continues to lead by bringing together people and organizations across the area that no other entity can, functioning as a hub for local activity and all kinds of promoting cooperation and collaboration over competition. We lead by being a nimble force behind identifying promising ideas and standing up proof of concept trials more quickly than government or other institutions are able to. And by serving as the official brand authority for the area, keeping a finger on the pulse of the area to understand the essence of our community, to monitor and observe how it's evolving over time, and to promote that identity to potential visitors. We lead by focusing our time, resources, and expertise into 3 key areas. The first, and maybe most obvious after hearing a little bit about what Luke and Stacy have been up to, is through innovative sales and marketing. While we will never pass up a good opportunity, we will continue to prioritize our sales efforts, our need-date business. We do this through incredibly close coordination with our area hotel sales partners, attractions and cultural entities, and through weekly rate and revenue data sources. We pride ourselves on being nimble, and while having been forced to pivot over the years because of technology, economic, or social changes, we remain centered on the visitor. We stay innovative and entrepreneurial while leveraging our experience and credibility to strengthen community through our networks and successes. As Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel, once said, "Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure, and only the paranoid survive." Katie and I really enjoy keeping our sales teams in a constant state of paranoia. The second area we continue to invest our time and resources is through authentic placemaking. It is important to be able to clearly say who we are and what we represent as a community. We are working to do this by, where able, better supporting subgroups within our community, neighborhoods, interest groups, and cultural groups in developing their unique identities and placemaking within our community. We intentionally strive to learn more about what residents think and look for in quality of life or event opportunities, especially the newer populations migrating into Johnson County. And we continue to leverage the core pillars of our area's identity to develop compelling stories and messaging around them. Lastly, but arguably most importantly, we are focused on intentional community engagement. Last week, I was asked to drive up to Rockford, Illinois for the evening and join 3 of my peers from around the country. We were all asked to present an overview of our respective DMO and our community to the city as they begin work on a new community vision plan. While there, the now retired but very long-time CEO of Visit Madison came up to me and told me a story about the first time she heard me speak. Back when I was just a kid, she said. And during that talk, about 15 years ago, I spoke about it not being that important the community know who we are. We are, after all, funded by visitor tax dollars, not property tax dollars. I talked about not needing credit for anything so long as our true stakeholders, our city managers and elected officials, always knew about our efforts. And that, quote, we were the deft hands behind all the cool stuff that happened in town. Except I didn't use the word stuff, and I actually did use the word shit, but last night Jess read my speech and said, you should take that out of your speech. But we want to be the deft hands behind all that cool stuff. Anyway, Deb said she wrote that down on a Post-it note, and it lived above her computer for years. While flattered, I guess, and truly believing that a decade or so ago, I don't believe it could be further from the truth today. There's not enough local awareness and understanding of what we do. And while it's not critical that we're top of mind for everyone, we are, after all, an organization charged with growing the visitor tax base. The easiest way to do this is by strengthening our exceptional connector role, among disparate groups in particular. The more familiar they are with our mission and activity, the better for the good of the whole. While our mission and purpose remain rooted in tourism and quality of life, we have as much of an obligation to community development as we do economic development. To this end, I couldn't be prouder of our board and staff's leadership in the BT 2030 All-In Vision Plan, being a founding investor and partner in this most important blueprint for a shared future. The vision for a shared future is spearheaded by a great leader in Katie Gerlach, and I'm honored to serve on her board of directors. The vision plan was funded by every local jurisdiction, developed over the course of about 18 months, and chaired by Angie Jordan, Kate Moreland, and President Barb Wilson. It focuses on 5 key pillars of priority over the next 6 years, all rooted in representative leadership, collaboration, and with a growth mindset. I would encourage you to learn more about BT 2030 and how you can get involved by taking one of the All-In Vision brochures found on your table today. While a full recap of the year can be found by accessing the annual report on our website, there are a few significant highlights from this past year that I'd be remiss in not mentioning before I wrap up my remarks. Well, technically in December of 22, trust me, we were very much still recovering it and feeling it in January of 23. Our community played host to the UWW Freestyle and Women's Wrestling World Cup. The event marked the first time in history in the world that both men and women competed on the same stage and at the same events. Over 18 countries visited Coralville and Iowa City for the better part of 2.5 weeks. The event generated over $6 million in local direct spending and was broadcast live from Coralville, Iowa, across China, Japan, the Republic of Georgia, Iran, and much of Western Ukraine. Downtown Iowa City, University Heights, and the Iowa River Landing were flooded with hundreds of international visitors and thousands of spectators. While certainly challenging at times, particularly with global politics and human rights concerns, as we worked through 15 different embassies around the globe, we couldn't have been more proud and appreciative of the opportunity to represent our people and our place. I have joked at times that we've sort of become the Dennis Rodman of wrestling diplomacy, but we really have. There are people in China, in Kyrgyzstan, in Azerbaijan, in Iran, in Mongolia, among others, that have a very favorable impression of Wrestletown, USA, and Iowa City, Iowa. One just has to follow a few of their sports social media accounts to find them regularly sporting Coralville or Iowa City shirts. These relationships and our reputation as one of the premier wrestling capitals on the planet carried on as evidenced by this next slide. We were honored to welcome back the Ukrainian women's national team this past October for 12 days while they trained with Canada and our Iowa women. And as you can see from the photos, our sports commission welcomed them back with open arms. Their trip included a private dinner at the Gables house with an authentic Ukrainian meal complete with borscht that was served by an immigrant family from Muscatine. The timing also worked out where, thanks to our friends at University of Iowa, we took them to see the crossover at Kinnick, and they got their first tailgating experience complete with a cornhole tournament. To say they were blown away by the support of women athletes in our community would be an understatement. Just a few weeks after World Cup, we were honored to host the inaugural and sanctioned Girls State Wrestling Tournament. 5 years ago, there were 82 girls wrestling in Iowa. There are now over 4,000. And much of the credit towards this goes to this table right here. Our terrific friends at the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union, who took a first date with us back in November of 22 when hosting the Iowa Girls State Volleyball Championships. And soon after, they awarded us with the Iowa Girls State Wrestling Championships. Their director, visionary, and incredible leader, Gene Berger, is here with us today. Gene, on behalf of this entire community, thank you for the confidence you've shown in us, especially in someone like you, Luke Eustace, of all people. Seriously, thanks to you, to Ben, to Aaron, to Jason, every one of you. It's been so fun to rep our pink. I do have my pink Air Force Ones on for you today. It's been fun to rep our pink, to make you and thousands of Iowa girls so proud. The last major accomplishment I wanted to be sure and recognize was the return of RAGBRAI to Johnson County. And what an incredible opportunity it was for Coralville to have secured an overnight stop on the most special of anniversaries, RAGBRAI 50. Like Herkimer Parade, it's one of the more meaningful events that as the entire community comes together to make it happen. While Iowa City was technically part of the route by serving as the following morning's first official pass-through town, they went above and beyond in supporting their neighboring city. RAGBRAI 50 had double the crowds of any previous RAGBRAI, and both Iowa City and North Liberty stepped in to make it happen with an army of volunteers and support staff, particularly with the overwhelming RV and campground needs in this high-traffic year. The county also played a big role with everything from secondary roads to signage to parks and conservation needs. The University of Iowa provided one of the more special additions to RAGBRAI 50 by making arrangements to route the actual ride through historic Kinnick Stadium. Marcus and Matt, who are here, were there with me when we soft opened the gates shortly after 4 a.m. that Saturday morning. And Beth, our new AD, well, she was back in Coralville on a golf cart with Jen, sweating their tails off for almost 4 hours that Friday afternoon, helping us deliver ice to vendors and campers. Where have you ever heard of an AD, let alone a Big Ten Power 5 AD, sitting on a golf cart delivering ice for 4 hours in 110-degree heat? But that's what we've been blessed with, so what an opportunity. All of this once again just demonstrates the specialness of our community. We have our challenging moments like anywhere else, no doubt, but nowhere else comes together for the common good like this place. Nowhere else will you find critical discourse revered like it is in this place. Nowhere else will you find hard work honored like it is in this place. In so many ways, collaboration is a way of life. And this was never more apparent than at 8:15 that night of RAGBRAI evening, just 15 minutes before our party was really officially ready to start with the band Bush taking the stage, when a 2-hour-long storm with 90-mile-an-hour winds that was supposed to miss us started to blow through. We had 10 minutes to shelter almost 15,000 people, and we pulled it off with nobody getting injured. Again, nowhere else, certainly not in Iowa, does the community come together like it does here. Events like RAGBRAI, Jingle Cross, Core 4, these events combined with the incredible investment our cities continue to make into our trails, single track, mountain biking, cyclocross infrastructure, continue to put us on the map. With leisure and group cycling tourists, but also with USA Cycling and Union Cycliste Internationale, or UCI, the governing body of the sport. Trust me, they know about Iowa City and Igles, Switzerland. Think Iowa City and the Sports Commission continue to lead and fund the Bike Iowa City brand efforts. Passionate cycling leaders like Liz Hubing and Alex Boomeyer are greatly assisting in developing these opportunities for both residents and visitors alike. With 2024 upon us, we are, quite honestly, excited for more of the same, and not just through our traditional sales efforts. Our team is equally excited about the opportunities on the horizon related to reclaiming the Iowa River, Nick Pfeiffer, our VP of Public Affairs, is doing a tremendous job of partnering with Brad Friedoff at Johnson County Conservation to lead these BT 2030 Pillar 1 efforts. We also continue to support our very important friends at Fly CID, truly one of the economic development crown jewels of not just the region, but our state, as they continue to grow and flourish with their terminal expansion program. And we will continue to strengthen our alliances with the Iowa Economic Development Authority and through Iowa Travel Industry Partners. Before I close my remarks and turn things over to Kylie Walker from our Sports Commission for a special presentation, I want to personally recognize the most important group here today and turn your attention back to that opening slide. Probably my favorite photo. As I've said in the past, I receive far more credit for some of these events and accomplishments than I truly deserve. This group right here is the team every other city in the state both envies and is maybe a little fearful of. What are they going to pull off next? How are we going to stay and compete? I know they frustrate our neighbors to the north every now and then. Same with our friends in Des Moines and maybe Dubuque. But hey, as the late great Tyler Sash used to always say, get better, not bitter, right? Just said I should have taken that one out too. Oh well. Let's move on from Tyler to Terry Brands, who famously said, you get what you earn. And this team of professionals, leaders, tireless workers has more than earned their accolades. Not too often do I get the chance to so publicly call them out. I used to go through them one by one and talk about the great work that each is contributing to the betterment of our community. But they really are a team and would most certainly prefer to be introduced that way. And what I'm really most proud of is the manner in which they also lead after the workday. Winston Churchill once said, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. What I am most proud of is the way they give back every week, month, and year. Here are just a few of the agencies and causes that our team volunteers their time and energy. Please join me in a round of applause as they stand, and I think you have to stand. A round of applause for an appreciation for our team at both Think Iowa City and the Iowa City Area Sports Commission. It's a little too long. We like to keep them paranoid, remember. I'd now like to welcome up one of those key leaders, Kylie Walker, to the stage for a special presentation. Jean always likes to remind Luke and me that Kylie is as great as she is because she's a former Johnston Girls State Champion softball player and thus an Iowa girl. Kylie?
Good afternoon. As Josh mentioned, my name is Kylie Walker, and I serve as the Sports Development Manager for the Iowa City Area Sports Commission. As he also mentioned, I am a very proud Iowa girl. The Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union was founded in 1927, and it is the only state high school association in the nation solely devoted to promoting, directing, and regulating interscholastic athletics for girls at the junior high and high school level. The IJHSAU currently sanctions 11 sports with over 60,000 student athletes, and that number is rising. 11 sports means 11 state championships. 11 state championships that highlight the hard work and determination of the Iowa girl. The Iowa City Area Sports Commission is honored to play a small role in 3 of the IJHSAU state championships hosted in our community. The 2A Girls State Tennis Meet in May, the Girls State Volleyball Championship in November, and the Iowa Girls State Wrestling Meet in February, including the inaugural event in 2023. And hopefully more in the future, so don't be shy about telling our friends at the IJHSAU how great our community is. The MVP, the most valuable partner, is awarded to an organization that exhibits first-class collaboration, not only to the Iowa City Area Sports Commission, but our community as a whole. The community impact and leadership the IJHSAU exemplifies through their championships is unlike any other. As a former Iowa girl, I myself was able to experience firsthand what it is like to compete in an Iowa Girls High School State Tournament. It is incredible what Jean, Aaron, Ben, Jason, Kirsten, your entire team does for each state tournament. You inspire us all to take our events to the next level. And to be honest, we love the pressure. You set the bar very, very high. With that, Jean, could you please join me as the Executive Director of the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union to accept the Most Valuable Partner Award from the Iowa City Area Sports Commission. I would ask that my coworkers please join me in presenting this award. Once an Iowa girl, always an Iowa girl.
Well, they didn't tell me about this. They just said I got a free lunch. Thank you, Josh, and your team. When we moved our volleyball tournament to Coralville, we were leaving a place that we had been 50 years. We don't move our championships around, mostly because we invest in the communities we're in and in the people that invest in us. And Josh can talk about the $29 return and the data that you get. You probably would have been higher if he hadn't run out of Busch Light during girls' state wrestling. But I want to tell you the difference is the people. It's really great to work with people who are invested in your event as much as the people in Coralville and Iowa City are. Our friends Jason and his staff at the arena. They help our tournaments get better. But what's really great is that they're our friends, and we consider them our friends, and we get to come to Coralville and work with people who are as passionate and caring as we are. So thank you for who you are, as well as everything you do for us.
Congratulations, Jean and your team. Thank you, everybody. This concludes our event, and go Hawks.